Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Baumgardner, Cook, Coram, Court, Crowder, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Garcia, Gardner, Guzman, Hill,
Excused.
Holbert, John, Jones, Kagan, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez-Humenick, Merrifield, Moreno, Moreno,
He's not? That's right. Excused. Thank you.
Neville, Priola, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Tate, Todd, Williams, Zinzinger. Mr. President.
Here. 33 present, 0 absent, 2 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Gardner, would you please come and lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, Mr. President. Please, colleagues, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did you want to say the pledge?
Approval of the journal. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the Journal of Friday, January 26, 2018, be dispensed with and the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Committee reports.
January 25th, 2018, Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration of Mayor's Committee articles the following: Senate Bill 24, be amended as follows as submitted before the Committee on Appropriations with a favorable recommendation. January 25th, 2018, Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee articles the following: Senate Bill 71, be amended as follows as submitted before the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Yes. After the message from the House. Okay. Senate Services.
Correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bill 25 and 44. Correctly re-revised, House Bill 1116.
Message from the House.
The House has adopted and transmits herewith House Joint Resolution 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010 as printed in the House Journal, January 26, 2018.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege.
Motion for the body is for the Senate to proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I asked for that moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Members, it is actually an honor and a privilege to be up here, and I thank you to the Senate leadership for allowing me this opportunity. As you know, as we're trying to do a better job of following the rules that this chamber is supposed to follow, we're no longer doing resolutions for those things that we have done resolutions in the past. So what I've done is I have done a tribute, and this tribute is for 4-H Day. I have a tribute here that's a joint tribute, but I'm going to read to you some of the things that we always put into our resolution so that you understand how important 4-H is. You know, the Colorado 4-H Youth Development Program is founded on the notion that youth are a vital resource for ensuring a better tomorrow, and that assisting youth as they prepare for the future is the 4-H program's central mission. The Colorado 4-H program is an integral part of Colorado State University Extension and is fundamental to the land-grant university mission. More than 113,780 Colorado youth, with the guidance of 12,185 adult and youth volunteer leaders. Think about those numbers. 113,780 13+ thousand youth, over 12,000 adult and youth leaders currently contribute to their communities and gain practical experience in workforce preparation and career exploration through their 4-H projects and activities. 4-H also grows young people with essential life skills like confidence, courage, resilience, curiosity, who are empowered and prepared for life today, tomorrow, and the future. Members, you've heard me tell this story before. I couldn't do what I do today as a senator in Northeast Colorado if it wasn't for 4-H. 4-H gave me those skills so I could do this today. 4-H serves every county and parish in America through a network of 110 land-grant universities and cooperative extension system and 3,000 offices nationwide. The 4-H organization is led by a unique public-private partnership which includes National 4-H Council and the National Institute of Food and Agriculture within the United States Department of Agriculture. Colorado 4-H returns $45 million annually to the Colorado economy, plus $31 million in added value of volunteers' time contribution, resulting in a tenfold return on our investment over the cost to conduct the program. A decade-long longitudinal study of positive youth development showed that, compared to their peers, youth involved in 4-H programs are 4 times more likely to make contributions to their communities, 2 times more likely to be civically active, 2 times more likely to make healthier choices. Okay, maybe I failed a little there. 2 times more likely to participate in science, engineering, and computer technology programs during out-of-school time. Participation in 4-H in Colorado is open to youth between the ages of 5 and 19 from all economic, social, and cultural backgrounds. Ladies and gentlemen, we are surrounded today and honored today to have 4-H people from across the state in our entire Senate chamber. You can look up above. Matter of fact, Mr. President, with your permission, may I have the 4-H folks stand up in the chamber? Would all the 4-H people involved in 4-H here please stand up? Volunteers. Welcome them to the chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, because of these young people that we have in the chamber with us today, I am confident about the future of our country and the youth of our country. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 15.
Senate Bill 15 by Senators Gardner and Hill and Representatives Williams, D. and Liston concerning the Protecting Homeowners and Deployed Military Personnel Act.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 15 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members. This bill is got a serious problem with it, but I think that the House may be able to fix it, and I'm hopeful that they will. We've tried to fix it here. We haven't succeeded in fixing it here, and the serious problem is this. It allows any person who is willing to lie on a declaration to get rid of someone who is residing in an apartment or a home without any judicial intervention, without any due process, simply by signing a declaration. If they are willing to falsely sign that declaration and say that the person in that place is unauthorized, then give it to the police or law enforcement, then they have to be removed that day. No intervention, no nothing. This gives the opportunity to angry boyfriends to get rid of their girlfriend co-resident. It allows the opportunity for landlords who've already collected a deposit and a first month's rent to simply get rid of the tenant the next day if they are willing to lie on a declaration. No judicial intervention. However, that can be fixed, and I am hopeful that that fix will come in the second chamber. And therefore, I am confident that this will, in the end, be a good bill.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I appreciate the comments of the senator from Arapahoe County, but I would say to him that I had an opportunity to visit with my constituents over the weekend, and I was gratified and also somewhat astounded that the thing that they wanted to talk to me about was about Senate Bill 15. And they weren't concerned that Senate Bill 15 might allow a property owner to lie in some random case, which, by the way, would be a crime, would be perjury. But they were amazed that we had not done anything yet, and that there were those who were opposed to or wanted to infringe upon the rights of property owners to remove home invaders from their property forthwith. Members, this is a bill that the public is insisting upon, more so than anything I can remember in my service in the House or the Senate. People are demanding that we change the law and do so in a way that they can remove people who invade their homes and trash them. So I appreciate your aye vote.
Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. To be clear, I also would urge you to vote yes, because as the senator from Colorado Springs has stated, this is a problem that needs addressing. I simply say that there is a serious problem with it as currently drafted and as currently being sent over to the House. That hopefully can be fixed. I urge an aye vote today to move this over to the House, and look forward to a vastly improved bill coming back from the House and receiving an aye vote in the Senate when it comes through.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I'd let the senator from Arapahoe County know, as you vote on this bill, know that if it comes back from the House in any way infringing upon the right of a homeowner to protect their property, Senator, I will ask that the Senate adhere, and we will let the public decide which of us was right. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 15? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 15. Are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 15 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Cook, Senator Marble, Senator Neville, Senator Scott, Senator Crowder, Senator Coram, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Smallwood, Senator Tate, Senator Lundberg, Senator Lambert, Majority Leader Holbert, Senator John, Senator Martinez-Humenick. Please add the President. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of the Senate Bill 14.
Senate Bill 14 by Senators Cook and Fields and Representatives Wist and Hared, concerning requiring the Department of Corrections to disclose the location of inmates who are relocated to facilities outside of the state.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move Senate Bill 14 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 14? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 14. Are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 14 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Marble, Senator Scott, Senator Smallwood, Senator Tate, Senator Lambert, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Scott. I think I got you again. You want to do it a third time? For Senator Neville, Senator John, Senator Merrifield, Senator Todd, Senator Fenberg, Leader Guzman, Senator Garcia, Senator Kafalis, Senator Court, Senator I said Kafalis, Senator Kagan, Senator Williams, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Jones, Majority Leader Holbert, Senator Donovan, Senator Gardner, Senator Kerr. Please add the president. General Order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we now resolve ourselves in the Committee of the Whole for the purpose of General Orders, second reading of bills. Consent calendar.
Motion before the body is for the Senate to resolve itself from the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the General Order's second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself from the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the General Order's second reading of bills consent calendar, and Senator Sonnenberg will take the chair.
Ready to read? Look at me, born ready.
Committee will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, please read the titles to the bills on the consent calendar.
Senate Bill 55 by Senator Neville and Representative Van Winkle concerning the crimes against children surcharges in cases involving trafficking of children. Senate Bill 60 by Senator Quorum and Representative Hamner concerning protective orders in criminal cases.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the two bills on the General Order second reading of bills consent calendar, consisting of Senate Bill 55 and Senate Bill 60, along with the report from the Judiciary Committee.
Any discussion on the committee reports? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee reports on the, from the Judiciary Committee on the bills on the consent calendar. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Committee report is adopted. Question before us is the adoption of all the bills on the consent calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The bills on the consent calendar are adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Question before us is whether the committee should rise or report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move, move for the
committee.
Mr. Andrews, please read the committee report.
Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole by leave reports had in consideration the following attached bills being the second reading thereof and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 55, Senate Bill 60 as amended, passed in second reading order and gross and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Now I move for the adoption of the committee report, Mr. President.
Motion before us is the adoption of the report to the Committee of the Whole. Are there any no votes? Seeing none, with a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 55, Senate Bill 60 is amended, passed on second reading, ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General Order, second reading of bills. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we now resolve ourselves into the Committee of the Whole for the purpose of General Order, second reading of bills.
Motion before the body is for the Senate to resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the General Order, second reading of bills calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the General Order's second reading of bills calendar, and Senator Sonnenberg will take the chair.
Committee will come to order. The coat rule is indeed relaxed. Mr. Andrews, will you please read the title of, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Majority Leader? Were you going to change the order? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Carpenter. Would you please read the title of Senate Bill 88?
Senate Bill 88 by Senator Gardner and Representative Becker Kay, concerning clarification that retail marijuana sales are subject to sales tax levy by certain limited purpose governmental entities.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over Senate Bill 88 to follow Senate Bill 54.
Question before us is to lay over Senate Bill 88 to follow Senate Bill 54. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 88 will lay over. Mr. Carpenter. Did I really say Mr. Andrews? Sorry, Andrew. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 54.
Senate Bill 54 by Senator Crowder and Representative Liston, concerning a limitation on the amount of an increase in fees assessed against assisted living residences by the Department of Public Health and Environment.
Mr. Majority Leader. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Crowder, Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 54 and Health and Human Services Committee report.
Is there any discussion on the Health and Human Services Committee report? Seeing none. Question before us is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. Senator Crowder to the bill.
Yes, sir. Senate Bill 54 has been worked on very hard by stakeholders and everyone involved, and we've come to a very good resolution on it. The amendments actually helped this move it to a year. What the amendments also did was actually negate the physical note, so there was no physical note. So I think what we're looking to do is get this passed, and I think it would have went to consent calendar, but there was one vote against, and I cannot explain that. But I think what this does is put the health facility in a situation where it does work onto the what do you call it? Consumer Price Index. Thank you, sir. And with that, I move Senate Bill 54 and ask for final or passage.
Senator Martinez Humanic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was on the Health and Human Services Committee, and I was the one that asked that this come to the floor because, colleagues, you really need to take a look at this bill. It is going to be something that is needed. However, there's opportunity for this increase to be quite high. And part of the reason that they're doing this, which wasn't explained to you here, is that we don't have enough health compliance inspectors to go around to all of the assisted living facilities that we have in the state. Some of them have not been looked at in over 3 years. There's still a number of complaints out there, and so that's why they're wanting to have this cap on here, is so that they can actually hire additional people to go in and do the compliance inspections and make sure that these facilities are safe for the folks that are actually going to be in the assisted living facilities. So they need these additional funds in order to be able to hire the additional health compliance inspectors.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I rise in support of this bill. This was actually a very interesting committee discussion. I don't know if you're aware, but we have only about 140 nursing homes in our state that house about 23,000 residents. We have 671 and growing assisted living facilities in our state that also house about 23,000 residents. As our population ages and grows, they more often need a safe place to live and stay. Unfortunately, nursing homes receive funding from the federal government to help provide their inspections for safety, and our state is able to do that regularly on an every 3-year basis. Assisted living facilities do not receive any federal funding to help us as a state inspect and ensure their safety. And the prices of doing the adequate funding that I think we all as legislators would want to ensure the safety of our elderly is unfortunately very high, and the assisted living facilities having small populations struggle to help these be paid. What this bill will do is put them in line with other nursing homes and long-term care facilities once they've raised the rates to get up to a reasonable level of inspection, to having their costs increase only at the same rate other long-term care facilities increase. But I think it raises an issue where in the future, as more assisted living facilities are created, we may need to look at whether there's some way that we as a state can help pay for this important public protection. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 54. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 54 is adopted. Mr. Joseph, please read the title to Senate Bill 88.
Senate Bill 88 by Senator Gardner and Representative Becker Kay concerning clarification that retail marijuana sales are subject to sales tax levied by certain limited purpose governmental entities.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 88 on second reading.
Continue.
Thank you. Members, this is a bill all of you have been waiting for. It is a bill that clarifies that retail marijuana sales remain subject to the sales taxes of special districts and any other sales taxes that limited purpose governmental entities levied on retail marijuana sales before July 1, 2017. I think everyone in this chamber and many outside know exactly what that means. And in a strange role reversal, one of my colleagues is sitting here with the statute book and the Constitution in his hand to speak upon the bill, I think. And so I will end there for the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that type of an introduction, I'll be glad to step up and give my observations on Senate Bill 88. Yes, it is something we've been looking at for some time. Seems like we spent a couple of days on this a few months ago. And when I read through Senate Bill 88, it is addressing an issue that did come up because of some rather poorly drafted legislation that did become law, and that's my point. It did become law, and that is that certain sales taxes were eliminated. They aren't there. They aren't on the books. They used to be, but they aren't there today. This is a tax that doesn't exist in today's law here in Colorado. And what Senate Bill 88 does is it says to those local districts whose sales taxes on marijuana sales has been eliminated, therefore doesn't exist, isn't there today, you can go ahead and put them back. And with a wink and a nod, it says, and, well, I'll just quote, page 4, line 27, starting with 26, shall determine whether the levying of such sales tax complies with the Colorado Constitution. And this is advice to the local districts. You can look at it and see if it's legal to do this or not. But well, actually, let me back up a little bit to the legislative declaration, because in the legislative declaration, I see it acknowledges on page 3, line 16. That the General Assembly is subject only to constitutional limitations. The General Assembly has plenary power to enact legislation, but we are subject to constitutional limitations. And so what Senate Bill 88 says is this tax can go back onto the books, which means this can be a tax now established, and that's what Senate Bill 88 does, is it authorizes the establishment of new taxes, because they're not there today, so that makes them a new tax. And then with a wink and a nod, it says to the local districts, but if you think that it's unconstitutional, then don't proceed with this. Well, if that isn't passing the buck and failing to take on our legislative responsibilities, our plenary powers. So we pass a bill that says it's legal if you think it is to the local districts when the legislature can't even decide whether or not it is. Well, let me make that decision a little bit easier, a little bit more straightforward, because this could all be cured by one simple process, and that is if this bill were to say, by a vote of the people, the taxes can be established. Because that's what the law does say. And if there's any question about that, I'm not going to read it all to you here, but in Article 10, Section 20, commonly known as the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, be aware of this one critical component right in it's the second sentence of the section. It says, its preferred interpretation shall reasonably restrain most the growth of government. And that means that if it's a new tax, if it should go to a vote of the people or not, the question is unquestionable. It should go to a vote of the people. Senate Bill 88 is just legal manipulation or you know, I'll leave it at that word, which the people in my district sent me down here to get rid of, not to put more in place. Mr. Chairman, I'm voting no on Senate Bill 88. I hope every senator will look at the law, particularly the constitutional law, very carefully and understand we have a responsibility to take a statement, make a statement here, not pass the buck. Vote no on Senate Bill 88. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no further discussion, Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, the good senator from Berthoud did a very good job of explaining the constitutional piece. We have a choice whether we live within the boundaries of the Colorado State Constitution or whether we take an alternative view. And it kind of reminds me back when I was a kid in the 60s and 70s. You remember the grand saying at the time? If it feels good, do it. So to this legislature, that's the difference. That is actually the cry here. That is actually the decision that we make with this vote. We have clearly stated that the tax does not exist currently. It is not being collected and it does not exist. Article 10, Section 20 of the Colorado State Constitution clearly outlines what needs to happen. The question is, do you believe in constitutional law, or do you believe that if it feels good, let's do it? I urge a no vote and a vote for the Colorado State Constitution.
Senator Leader Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I urge a yes vote on Senate Bill 88. It's been deemed that this has always been constitutional. Let's get with the program. Let's approve it. Let's do for the people of Colorado what they expect us to do. I urge a good vote, a positive vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 88. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 88 is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Question before us is whether or not the committee should rise or report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. We will indeed rise and report.
Senate will come back to order. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has had a couple of bills under consideration. Mr. Andrew Joseph Carpenter, would you please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report has had in consideration the following attached bills being the second reading thereof and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 54 is amended. Senate Bill 88 passed in second read, order engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Motion before the body is the adoption of the report to the committee of the whole. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 54 is amended. Senate Bill 88 passed on second reading, ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Sponsorship change. Representative Hooton will be added as a joint prime sponsor on Senate Bill 55 with Senator Neville and Representative Van Winkle. Consideration of governor's appointments. Consent calendar. Mr.
What does that say? Carpenter.
Would you please read all the appointments on the consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar?
Members of the State Board of the Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund for terms expiring April 15, 2021, Natalie Jo Rogers of Yuma, Colorado, and unaffiliated and resident of the 4th Congressional District reappointed. Jason B. Brinkley of Aurora, Colorado, a Republican and resident of the 6th Congressional District reappointed. Carmen Giulianelli of Golden, Colorado, a Democrat and resident of the 7th Congressional District reappointed. Julie Thibodeau of Durango, Colorado, a Democrat and resident of the 3rd Congressional District and west of the Continental Divide appointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move all of those listed on the consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar consisting of members of the State Board of the Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund.
Is there any discussion on any of the appointments? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the governor's appointments listed on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes on any of the appointments? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, the appointments are confirmed. Following persons have been appointed to the State Board of the Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund: Natalie Jo Rogers, Jason B. Brinkley, Carmen Giulianelli, and Julie Thibodeau. Signing of bills.
The President has signed Senate Joint Memorial 1. The President has signed House Bill 1116.
Announcements. Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if they're still here, but a school group from Hillel Academy. Are you still here, students from Hillel? Oh, well, welcome when you were here. Thank you.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here today to clear up some calendar confusion. We show a superfluous business committee hearing this week. I just want to confirm today at 1:30, as printed in the calendar, we're hearing Senate Bill 105, Senate Bill 67, and Senate Bill 21 in that order, and that is at 1:30 today. The calendar does show a Senate Business Committee hearing tomorrow afternoon. There will not be one tomorrow afternoon. Instead, on Wednesday at 1 o'clock, Wednesday at 1 o'clock, we'll be hearing Senate Bill 79, Senate Bill 65, Senate Bill 2, and that would be it, as far as I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Announcements. Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee will be meeting in room 271 this afternoon, and also Senate Bill 58 will be moved to February 5th. So we will only be hearing Senate Bill 76 and Senate Bill 48.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'd like to invite you to a reception this evening. The 2018 Kemp Legislative Reception is going to be Monday, that's today, from 5 p.m. at 7 to 7:30. and it's going to be at the University Club, which is at 1673 Sherman Street. As you know, Kemp does some wonderful work with kids, and I would love to have your support. Thank you.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the previous calendars had mentioned that the Joint Budget Committee would be meeting for staff and OSPB comebacks today. That has been delayed till tomorrow. So if you are planning to come to any of those meetings, have a nice time because we won't be in there until tomorrow. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we will read bills over the desk later today. You do not need to be here. Of course, you are always welcome. Mr. President, I move the Senate recess until 1:30 p.m. today.
Motion before us is to recess until 1:30 p.m. today. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand in recess until 1:30 p.m. today.